Hello, my name is Evelina Silveira with Diversity at Work Communications Training. That's www.diversityatworkcommunications.com. And today I want to talk to you about a really hot topic in Ontario politics, and that's related to education and the teacher strike. There are some terms that are being thrown out there about seniority and meritocracy, and how do they relate to diversity? And today I want to talk to you about the disadvantages of seniority when it comes to creating a diverse and inclusive workplace where everyone has a fair shot at getting a job. Now, sometimes the policies that are created or discussions that are happening in Ontario are often very focused on Toronto, which is a very different reality than some of the locations, other locations, like London, where I am from. Now, London is become more diverse, certainly over the last 15 years, but it wasn't always like that. I'm going to give you an example of an instance that I experienced myself in front of me and I saw with my own eyes. I worked for a public service, for the public service some years ago, where there was very little diversity. And because of seniority, there were always the same people getting jobs, being promoted, and they were being promoted because they had been there the longest. My argument is that being there at a job for the longest period of time doesn't necessarily make you the best worker. There's a lot of reasons why people stay at their job for a long time in the public service. So the benefits are great. There's more job security in many respects than other jobs. And the problem with hiring and making hiring decisions based on seniority is that you don't always get the best people. That doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of great, loyal employees who are also have been in the organization for a long time. So I want to be clear about that. But hiring people only on the basis of how long they've been is not a good idea for a lot of reasons. Let me give you an example of this so you can see how this can be illustrated. I worked in an organization where there were about 300 employees. This was an organization that served the public, and only maybe one or two people out of those 300 people were people of color. Now, you could say, well, maybe they don't apply for the job. Well, I don't believe that. Not in a city that was pretty diverse at the time. But what ended up happening was we had an organization that was largely female, white females, very few males. And there was the same type of people that were going through the ranks all the time, eventually promoted and so forth, based on the structure of seniority, rather than giving people a job because they were the best person, the most deserving person for the position. So how did this work out? Well, one day there was a younger human resource manager who started to hear about diversity in the workplace and started to understand that the workplace was not reflective of the people who were using the service. And so what did she do? She began to just start only hiring visible minorities, people of color, immigrants to these positions. They were relief positions. And feeling that that was the right thing to do, it was the okay thing to do, that was a box that she could check off. Now, maybe that was well-meaning. However, they were not always the best people for those particular jobs, but she had to do something quickly. Now, I'm going to show you how an approach like this is not very effective and actually creates a lot of inequalities. So in an effort to try to balance things out in the organization by bringing in more people who were of different ethnic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and different races, it actually created a different type of inequality. So these individuals were hired onto relief positions. Now, if you know anything about relief positions in many organizations, it means that you get very little work. You may be on a relief role for a very long time before you even get to be promoted to a part-time or casual type of position. So, and when you look at a city like London, for example, as I was saying in this particular point in time, where people are staying in their job for a long time, it's going to take a while for those individuals to move out of those positions for one of these people of a different diversity to fill in and move up, to go from a relief position up to a part-time position, a full-time position, and something of a more status. So that is one of the problems with seniority-based type of organization. It creates a lot of inequalities and equities, and the reality is you get the same type of people all the time. And I'm not just talking about the same race. The best people for the job should always be hired. And we also want to make sure that the individuals that come to our organization have different types of opinions and ideas, because that type of diversity needs to be valued as well. And the only way we can do that is by opening up the applicant pool to a wider group. So when we look at unions, and traditionally, a lot of the focus has been on social justice issues, creating better workplaces, and recognizing and being aware of inequalities such as inequalities in the workplace for women, people with disabilities, LGBT, and so forth. This is an area that I think that the unions have to do more work on, because some of their structures are actually creating inequities for people who want to rise in the organization. So, and this is not, as I said, is not always apparent for people who are looking at this from the perspective of somebody who's living in Toronto, where they've always been diverse, and diversity has been just part of the woodwork in workplaces. The other point is that hiring practices that are focused on seniority can often create toxic environments. This means that good workers feel demoralized. They begin to question why should they be there? Why should they make an effort when those efforts are not recognized? And that's when you start to create an environment that becomes unproductive. It becomes an environment where people start to look for other jobs, and it's difficult to retain people. So just to sum up, I think it's time for unions and other organizations that look at seniority as a measure to determine whether or not people should get a job needs to be reconsidered in today's reality. We need to create fair hiring practices where the best people get hired all the time. And the only way we can do that is by creating a free flow of applicants and opportunities to rise through the ranks. So that's my challenge out there to unions today, to reconsider how some of these practices could be deterring other people from getting into some of those professions, and also staying in the profession and doing their best work. If you like this video, please like the button below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.